The distress call. Commander Sarachin stared at the holographic display floating above her command console, and for the first time in her 15-year career with the Galactic Defense Initiative, she felt her hands trembling. The distress signal pulsed red against a star map. Urgent, automated, already 12 hours old. 12 hours meant everyone was probably dead. The GDI Phoenix was 3 days from the nearest coalition fleet, 6 days from reinforcements, and exactly 42 minutes from the Kepler Research Station, where 847 scientists from 17 different species were conducting deep space xenobiology research, or had been conducting research, before something went catastrophically wrong. "Status report," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the ice forming in her chest. Lieutenant Mercoz, a Vraxian whose chitinous exoskeleton clicked softly as he worked the tactical console, responded without looking up. "Automated defenses offline. Life support fluctuating. No response to hails. Scanning for biosignatures, but interference is significant." Interference from what? Unknown, Commander. Energy readings are inconsistent with known technology. Sarah's second officer, Commander Tlora, stepped closer to the display. The Selenite 6 eyes moved independently, analyzing multiple data streams simultaneously. Her species had been exploring space for 3,000 years before humans left Earth's atmosphere, and Tlora had seen things that gave even veterans nightmares. "Commander Chun, I must advise against approach," Tlora said, her translator rendering her bioluminescent communication patterns into flat, emotionless standard. "GDI protocol for contaminated research stations requires quarantine and specialist teams. We are not equipped for xenobiological hazards. We're the only ship in range," Sarah countered, "which is precisely why we should not risk ourselves. If we are compromised, no one else can respond for 6 days. The mathematical logic is clear. Retreat, report, wait for proper containment teams." Sarah looked at the display again. 847 people. She knew the statistics. Statistically, after 12 hours without communication, survival probability was 8%. After 24 hours, it dropped to 0.3%. Every military academy in the coalition taught the same doctrine. Don't sacrifice the capable to save the probably dead. But statistics were just numbers until they became faces. The decision that changed everything. "How many of you have families?" Sarah asked suddenly, her eyes scanning her bridge crew of 23 beings representing 9 different species. Silence. Then, slowly, hands and appendages rose. 14 of them. "I'm not married," Sarah continued. "No kids. No siblings. My parents died in the Arcturus incident. But I'm guessing some of those 847 people on that station have families too. Partners waiting for calls that won't come. Children who don't know their parents might already be gone." "Commander, emotional reasoning," Tlora began, "is exactly what makes us human," Sarah interrupted. "And maybe that's a flaw. Maybe it's why the Selenites have survived for millennia, while humans nearly wiped ourselves out twice before joining the coalition. But I learned something at the academy that you didn't, Tlora." The Selenites' eyes focused on Sarah simultaneously, a gesture of complete attention. "I learned that sometimes the right choice and the smart choice aren't the same thing. Protocol says retreat. My gut says those people deserve a chance, even if it's just 0.3%. She turned to address the entire bridge crew. "I'm going in, but I'm not ordering anyone else to come with me. This violates GDI Directive 17, Section 4. I'll face court-martial when we return. Anyone who wants to transfer to escape pods and wait for retrieval has 5 minutes to do so. No judgment. No record. You made the smart choice." Nobody moved. "Commander," Mercoz said, mandibles clicking in what Sarah had learned was Vraxian determination. "With respect, we are not here because of protocol. We are here because when the Vraxian colonies were overrun by the Scourge, human ships arrived first. Always. Even when it was dangerous. Even when it was stupid." He paused. "Especially when it was stupid. We remember." A murmur of agreement rippled through the bridge. Different languages, different physiologies, but the same sentiment. Tlora's bioluminescence flickered in patterns Sarah had never seen before. The Selenites have a saying, Wisdom is knowing when to act and when to preserve. Humans have taught me a corollary. Courage is acting even when wisdom says not to. I find myself curious to see which philosophy prevails. Then let's find out, Sarah said. All hands, prepare for emergency approach. Battle stations. I want medical teams ready for mass casualties. Engineering, prepare for potential contamination. Full quarantine protocols. If this goes wrong, I want every safety system between us and whatever's on that station. First contact with horror. The Phoenix's approach to Kepler Station should have taken 4 hours of careful maneuvering. Sarah made it in 47 minutes, pushing the ship's engines until the chief engineer sent 3 separate warnings about structural integrity. The station loomed before them, a massive ring structure rotating gently against a backdrop of a gas giant's swirling storms. It should have been lit up like a small city. Instead, only emergency lights flickered sporadically, giving it the appearance of something dying. Biosignatures detected. Mercoz announced, his voice rising slightly. 317 readings. Strong. Active. Commander, they're alive. 317 out of 847. Barely more than a third. But Sarah felt something unlock in her chest. They weren't too late. Not completely. Life support. Failing. Oxygen at 12% and dropping. Estimate 22 minutes until atmosphere becomes unsuitable for most coalition species. 22 minutes. Not enough time to dock. Search a station designed for nearly 1,000 inhabitants and evacuate everyone. Not even close. Get me a docking solution. Fastest route to the biosignatures. Commander, Flora said carefully, we still don't know what caused the initial incident. Approaching without intelligence is... The view screen erupted with movement. Something vast and organic was attached to the station's outer hull, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that hurt to look at directly. It had no symmetry that Sarah could identify, no features that suggested any evolutionary path she recognized. It simply existed, a mass of tissue and energy that shouldn't be possible. Sweet, merciful, someone whispered. Analysis, Sarah barked. Mercoz's chitinous plates were trembling. It's reading as biological and technological simultaneously. Energy output is massive. It's feeding on the station's power grid. And something else. He looked up. It's growing. Growing how fast? At current rate, it will engulf the entire station in 41 minutes. Sarah did the math instantly. 22 minutes until the survivors suffocated. 41 until they were consumed by whatever that thing was. Either way, they had less than half an hour. Options, she said. Retreat, Flora said immediately. Report to Coalition Command. This requires military response we cannot provide. We can attack, Mercoz offered. Phoenix has plasma cannons. We might be able to damage the organism. With survivors still inside? Sarah shook her head. We hit that thing. We risk decompressing the sections where people are hiding. Then there is no viable solution, Flora concluded. We cannot dock safely, cannot attack effectively, cannot evacuate in time. Mathematics, Commander. Cold and certain. Sarah stared at the horror on her view screen, at the dying station and the 317 people whose air was running out, and made a decision that every instructor at the academy would have failed her for. Math changes when you change the variables, she said quietly. Mercoz, target our plasma cannons on that thing's center mass. Flora, prepare tractor beams. I want them ready to grab any debris. Engineering, I need emergency life support pods ready to deploy. Commander, what are you planning? Flora asked. Sarah smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. Something stupid, something dangerous, something human. She leaned forward in her command chair. We're going to shoot that thing, trigger an explosive decompression in the compromised sections, and use the blast to launch the survivors toward us in life pods. We'll catch them with tractor beams before they drift too far. Silence. That's... Mercoz started. Insane, Flora finished. Success probability is less than 4%. Risk of complete failure is 96%. Risk of casualties aboard Phoenix from proximity to the blast. I know the odds, Sarah interrupted. I also know that 317 people have less than 20 minutes of air left, and we're their only chance. Sometimes the only way to win is to change the game entirely. She looked at her crew, beings from across the galaxy who had chosen to stay when wisdom said to run. This is it. This is why humans are here. Not because we're stronger or smarter or wiser. Because when someone needs help and all the smart options are gone, we try the stupid ones instead. She paused. Helm, close to firing range. Gunnery, prepare to fire on my mark. Medical teams, prepare to receive massive casualties. Everyone else, hang on. The Phoenix surged forward toward the dying station, toward the impossible organism, toward 317 people who had no idea their survival depended on a human commander willing to try something that should never work. Behind them, the void of space stretched infinite and uncaring. Ahead, horror waited. But between the void and the horror, there was a ship full of people who'd learned something from humans. Sometimes courage matters more than wisdom, and sometimes the only choice left is to try the impossible and hope it's enough. 21 minutes of air remaining. Sarah took a deep breath. Mark. Part 2. The miracle they never expected. Word count. 1,500. Control chaos. The Phoenix's plasma cannons lit up the void like twin suns being born. The energy beams struck the organic mass, clinging to Kepler Station, and reality screamed. The thing... Sarah refused to think of it as alive, because that meant acknowledging what they were killing, convulsed. Its bioluminescent patterns flared from sickly green to blinding white, and for 3 eternal seconds nothing happened. Then it exploded. Brace. Sarah shouted, but the shock wave hit them before anyone could react. The Phoenix shuddered, hull groaning, systems flickering. On the view screen, Kepler Station's outer rings shattered like glass, sections spinning away into the void, trailing atmosphere and debris, and life pods. Mercot shouted. I count 17, 19, 23 pods ejecting. Emergency seals held on some sections. Tractor beams, now. Sarah commanded. Flora S6's eyes moved in impossible patterns as she coordinated the Phoenix's tractor beam systems. Technology designed to grab exactly one disabled ship at a time, not catch dozens of tumbling life pods shooting in different directions from an exploding station. This is not possible, Flora muttered, her bioluminescence flickering wildly as she worked. Too many vectors. Too much interference from the blast. She paused. Locking on pod cluster alpha. Got them. Cluster beta. Locking secured. On the tactical display, 17 life pods were now caught in the Phoenix's gravitational embrace, reeling them in like fish on invisible lines. 6 more were drifting too far, moving too fast. Mercots, can we reach those 6? Sarah asked. Not with tractor beams. They're beyond maximum range and accelerating. They'll drift into the gas giant's gravity well within. He calculated quickly, 8 minutes. Sarah's mind raced. 8 minutes. They had maybe 90 seconds to pull in the 17 pods they'd already caught, get them aboard, and then pursue the other 6. Except the Phoenix couldn't accelerate fast enough to catch pods already at terminal velocity, unless they did something incredibly stupid. Helm, prepare for emergency burn on my mark. Engineering, divert all non-essential power to engines. Life support to minimum. Weapons offline. Everything to engines. Commander, Flora said carefully, if we pursue those pods the velocity required to intercept, we won't have enough fuel to escape the gas giant's gravity well ourselves. We'll be committed to a degrading orbit. How long? Until the coalition fleet arrives. 6 days. And how long can we maintain orbit? Flora's eyes calculated independently. Approximately 4 days before atmospheric entry becomes inevitable. Then we have 2 days of safety margin. Sarah said, plenty of time. Helm, execute burn as soon as those 17 pods are aboard. What humanity means. The next 6 minutes were control chaos. Life pods crashed into Phoenix's cargo bay with thuds that echoed through the ship. Medical teams swarmed each one as it arrived, extracting survivors, some conscious, some not, all traumatized by what they'd witnessed and the explosive rescue that followed. Sarah watched the tactical display as the last of the 17 pods was secured. Somewhere in that cargo bay were 317 beings who had expected to die today, who had watched their air supply count down to nothing while something alien consumed their station around them. All 17 pods secured. Mercos reported. Survivors accounted for. 283 individuals. Various state of injury. None critical. Medical says we can handle the load. That meant 34 hadn't made it to the pods in time. 34 faces that someone would have to notify families about. 34 people who'd been alive 12 hours ago. But 283 were alive now who shouldn't be. And the remaining 6 pods. Sarah asked quietly, still accelerating toward the gravity well. If we don't intercept within 4 minutes, they're gone. Sarah looked at her bridge crew. They were exhausted, scared, running on adrenaline and determination. They'd already done the impossible once. She was about to ask them to do it again. Plora, you said we'd have 2 days of safety margin if we pursue those pods. Affirmative. However, that's enough time for the Coalition fleet to reach us if we call for help. They can pull us out before we hit atmosphere. If they arrive on schedule. If nothing delays them. If a lot of things, Sarah agreed. But right now, 6 people are about to die because we're afraid of if. She turned to address the entire bridge. I'm going after those pods. Anyone who wants to transfer to escape pods before we commit to this insanity, now's your chance. This time I mean it. We've already saved 283 people. That's a win. Nobody will blame you for not wanting to bet your life on a rescue that might kill us all. Again, nobody moved. Commander, a voice said from the doorway. Sarah turned to see Dr. Kess, the Phoenix's chief medical officer, a being whose species she couldn't even pronounce, crystalline and ancient. I have just finished treating survivors from the station. They are telling me what happened. Would you like to know? Later, Doctor, we have. Now, Commander, Kess insisted, because it is relevant. The organism that attacked the station. It was not random. It was not natural. It was a weapon, designed, deployed, and if my patients are correct, it was specifically targeting the research they were conducting. Sarah felt ice slide down her spine. What research? Faster-than-light communication technology. Instantaneous. No lag. Revolutionary. And something, did not want them to succeed. The entity that attacked the station was intelligent. Commander, it understood what was destroying. The bridge went silent. Then those 6 pods, Mercos said slowly, might contain the researchers who actually succeeded, the ones who know how the technology works. Or, Tlora added, they might contain the entities responsible for deploying the weapon. We have no way to know. Sarah looked at the tactical display. 6 pods. 6 unknown individuals. 6 possibilities. Only one way to find out, she said. Helm, execute emergency burn. Get us those pods. The math of miracles. The Phoenix roared to life. Engines burning at 127% capacity. Well beyond safe parameters. The ship shook like it was trying to tear itself apart. Hull groaning, systems protesting. But it accelerated. On the view screen, the gas giant loomed larger, swirling storms big enough to swallow Earth growing more detailed by the second. The 6 life pods tumbled ahead of them, pulled inexorably toward destruction. Closing. Mercos reported, his voice strained. 3 minutes to intercept range. But Commander, the gravity well. I see it. They all did. The Phoenix was committed now. Even if they turned back this instant, they'd entered the point of no return. They were going to fall into that gas giant's embrace, unless the Coalition fleet arrived exactly on time to pull them out. Sarah had bet 23 lives on 6 unknowns. Math would call her a fool. Protocol would call her reckless. She called it human. Tractor beam range in 30 seconds, Plora announced. Her bioluminescence had gone steady, pure focus. Locking solutions calculated. I can grab 4 immediately. The other 2 will require chase. Do it. 20 seconds. 15. 10. Locking secured. For pods jerked in space, caught by invisible hands. Pursuing final two. The Phoenix dove deeper into gravity well, chasing the last two pods as they spiraled toward oblivion. The gas giant filled the entire view screen now, beautiful and terrifying. Got them, Plura shouted. All six secured. Helm, emergency retrograde burn now. The ship's engine screamed, fighting against momentum and gravity. Numbers on Sarah's console turned red, then flashing red, then colors she didn't recognize as warning systems invented new ways to say, "You're all going to die." But slowly, impossibly, the Phoenix's descent slowed, stopped, and began to reverse. "Well, we're climbing," the helmsman said, disbelief in their voice. "We're actually—" "Don't celebrate yet," Sarah warned. "Do we have enough fuel to achieve stable orbit?" Silence. Then, negative. "We can climb for approximately 36 hours before fuel depletion. After that, we're committed to atmospheric entry. And the Coalition fleet? ETA 48 hours. 12 hours short. They'd fall into that gas giant 12 hours before help arrived." "Well," Sarah said quietly, "I guess we'll have to hope they're early for once." The message that changed everything. 23 hours later, exhausted beyond measure, Sarah sat in her ready room reviewing reports. The 6 pods had contained 4 researchers and 2 security officers, all human. As it turned out, the FDL communication research was real, and the technology was stored in encrypted files that Earth's government was very interested in recovering. The organism that attacked Kepler Station remained a mystery, but xenobiology teams were analyzing debris, trying to understand what it was and who deployed it. And the Phoenix hung in a slowly degrading orbit around a gas giant, waiting for rescue that might not arrive in time. A chime interrupted her thoughts. "Commander, incoming transmission. It's flagged urgent from Coalition Command." Sarah's heart sank. This was it. Either rescue or goodbye. Put it through. The holographic display materialized, showing Admiral Cross, human, ancient, and notoriously strict about protocol. The man who court-martialed 3 captains the previous year for minor violations. "Commander Chun," he said, voice grave, "I've reviewed your actions at Kepler Station. The violations of GDI Directive 17. The unauthorized approach to a contaminated research facility. The reckless endangerment of your ship and crew." Sarah stood at attention. "Yes, Admiral. I take full responsibility. And I've also reviewed the results." Cross continued, a smile slowly spreading across his weathered face. 289 survivors recovered. 0 Coalition casualties. Critical research preserved. And most importantly, you reminded every species in the Coalition why humans are sometimes worth a headache. He leaned forward. "The fleet will reach you in 14 hours. Commander, we pulled ships from 3 sectors, and burned fuel we'll have to explain to accountants for years. But you saved 289 people who had no right to be alive, using tactics that had no right to work. That's worth some burn fuel." Sarah felt something unknot in her chest. "Thank you, Admiral." "Don't thank me yet. You're still getting court-martialed. Procedure demands it. But between you and me, Commander, keep being human. The galaxy needs more of that, not less." The transmission ended. Sarah sat back down, exhausted but alive. On her desk, a data pad showed messages from the survivors. 289 beings from 17 species, each one saying the same thing in different ways. "Thank you for not giving up on us." Outside her window, the gas giant swirled in magnificent fury. 14 hours until rescue. Plenty of time. She'd learned something today that the Academy never taught. Sometimes the difference between 0.3% probability and 100% success is just a human being stubborn enough to try anyway. The galaxy could keep its math. Humanity would keep its miracles. And that, she thought, was exactly how it should be.